So this has been here for, shoot, probably 15 days of me doing other things that I could be doing something really fun like this, but such is life. I ordered a 20 horsepower short shaft, manual start, no choke, no electric start, and obviously this is an EFI 4-stroke, 20 horsepower engine for my 20-foot long, higher freeboard Cadillac. It's older, it's probably 1964 vintage boat. It needed to have some more power because the 15, we tried 15 on it and it just wasn't that great. And honestly, you know, the 6 and the 4 on it weren't even that much worse than the 15. Just 15 didn't have enough to get it really hard up on plane, and I'm hoping that 20 does. But more importantly, we want to be able to take this thing out anytime, anywhere, go out and have some fun, and the beauty of a 4-stroke will probably be pretty fun on this boat. So I'm excited to unbox this engine, take a look at it, get oil in it, and at some point fire it up. I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that today. I got a couple things I got to do later today. Maybe tomorrow we can do that, but we can get it all ready to go today. So that'll be the unboxing. You did order this from Online Outboards. They are not a scam. They were super awesome to talk to on the telephone. Very competitive price. My local Suzuki dealer actually recommended that I call them because they didn't have what I wanted in stock. And they said that the Online Outboards guys out of that, it's like Cumberland, Tennessee or something like that, they have the best stock or availability of these smaller outboards. So that's what I went with. They shipped it extremely quickly, which didn't do me any good because I got busy doing a couple other things. So good job on them. It comes on this beautiful pallet, which was no problem to unload with the tractor and the pallet fork. So good on them. It was here probably 4 days, 6 days from Tennessee to Michigan, which is pretty incredible for a unit this big. It came on a truck with a load leveler or you know what I mean, a lift gate, and I didn't have to pay extra for lift gate service. Actually, it was free shipping. So these guys are pretty awesome, and no, I'm not affiliated with them at all. I would love to be because it seems like awesome business. I would like to put, if this works out well, the same motor but a electric tilt and electric start on my pontoon boat this coming year, and we will see about doing that. So if this works out well, I would like to get an additional one to put on my pontoon boat because I have a 30 horse on it right now, 2-stroke. Not that there's anything wrong with 2-stroke. I love 2-strokes. And this engine runs, it's one of those things where it's like, it's so reliable, but it doesn't run right. It's definitely got some misses here and there. It loads up occasionally, but it's just so reliable. It always runs, it always works. And the lower unit has definitely ran into some things. I actually tore up the prop on one little mistake, but I got it already with the skeg knocked off and a couple other things. So there will probably be another one of these in the future. I was looking initially at putting a 50 horse on it, and upon talking to people, because it's an older, it's a 90s Crest 2 pontoon boat. It is not a planing pontoon setup, so it's going to be like just pushing a displacement hull through the water. So really you're capped at whatever the performance the boat's going to have. It, you know, it does 6 or so mile an hour at half throttle, and then it gets up to 9 or 10 at full throttle. So you're using so much power to go nowhere, it's kind of pointless. So, and honestly, the way I use it is I go putz around it on inland lakes and have a relaxing time. So I think the 20 horse is going to do just fine. It'll putz around just fine. I'm sure it'll go pretty quick as it needs to go. So anyway, that'll be a secondary project. We'll see how this one looks, and I will start opening it right now, and we will sort of unbox it. I don't have somebody here to help me video it, so it's not going to be probably a true unboxing video, but I'll pop the lid open and we'll talk about what we see on the inside, look through the directions, get the motor out, hang it on the stand, take a look at it, all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. Now, a lot of these motors do not work with muffs like bigger motors do, and they are saying they want 10 inches from the cavitation plate when you're running it in a bucket. I have a perfect bucket to use I like to run motors in, so we will be doing that. So, but take note, this is the first thing you see when you open up. And this is a pretty organized box. Looks like we've got a fuel system right there. I wonder what that is. Maybe, oh, that's fuel tank. And we have, da-da-da! Ooh. We have the Mutta. Oh, that's a big girl. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. This is gonna be sweet. So what's interesting about this is the 9.9, the 15, and the 20 all share the same motor, the same housing, the same engine, design, layout. And what they do is they put a bigger carburetor and they have restrictor, or they don't have a restrictor plate on the 20 horsepower model. So the reason I like the 20 horse model is for the exact same package right here, you get more power. So it weighs the same as the 9.9 and it has double the power. So to me, that was kind of a no-brainer. And going up to that next step to the 25 and 30 horse, which shares the same idea of it being the same engine displacement, it's like 540 or something like that. And then this is like, I think it's 328 cc's, I think is what it is. Going up to that next size, you may as well, in my opinion, get the 30, because now you have the same weight and the same size constraints with more power. So it seems like it'd be a no-brainer to go with the 30. And in the same way, the 35 and the 40 share a size as far as I can tell. So that was kind of my logic with this. So we're getting the same motor with, with more power, the same footprint. So we're going to keep unboxing. We'll see how it goes. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 3-gallon fuel tank that they send. Looks like a really nice compact unit. It does come with a quick attach. So if you wanted to buy another fuel tank, you could keep 2 in the boat, and that way you just switch between the 2. I will probably end up doing that. It is a Suzuki branded fuel tank. It says Suzuki right on there. The fuel line feels very pliable. I'm assuming it's going to work well. We will be using this boat in the cold. Part of the whole point of this is to have a year-round usable boat. If we get a nice day where we want to go fishing, even as late in the season, we'll keep the motor inside, so we're never going to winterize this. It'll always be in a climate-controlled environment. So yeah, looks good. Obviously, there's a primer ball. Like I said, the hose feels nice and malleable, so probably no issues with cracking over time. Looks like a really high-quality quick connect. That looks good. So we have it out. It is definitely not crazy light, but at the same time, it's not a 4-horse. So obviously it's going to weigh something. It would probably take a relatively fit individual to carry this thing 100 yards through the parking lot, but you could do it. Great handhold right here. And the hood has a perfectly reasonable handhold right there. It is a beautiful engine. I am very happy with that. It is absolutely beautiful. So obviously you have your shifter, forward and reverse. You have a kill switch and a little tether spot to hold it there. Throttle's pretty simple. It appears that the kill is probably that one. Oh no, kill's right there. Kill's right there. So that's probably going to be an electric start button that we don't have. Looks like we have an over temperature right there, check engine or temp light. And obviously fuel hooks up right over there. So pretty standard stuff. Ripcord is right here. Now, like I said, I opted to get the manual, no tilt. This is going on a legit John boat. I could totally see putting this on a more serious machine that has center console, have tilt, and it is beautiful. It is a beautiful piece of equipment there. On a nice old classy Evinrude stand, which is awesome. So it's a time that we take a look at the heart of the beast. Well, there's the heart of the beast right there. So we will definitely be filling the oil. Obviously our dipstick is right here, I would imagine. We'll see how that comes off. This appears to just be a nice screw off. Well, that'll work. Let's put that on for right now, just keep track of it. I don't know what the point of this is. Maybe to keep during transport from the hood pushing down, or probably supports the hood. So if it were to get impacted, it doesn't just dent the hood all up. So there's shifter function, that's reverse, neutral, drive. Probably some kind of a shift interlock right here. Probably requires you to be in idle. Cool. It's the fuel filter right there. Put that out of the way. Definitely a far cry from the old school motors I'm sort of used to. There we go. She definitely was oiled at one point. Now I believe we'll read the directions. There's only one side you're supposed to let this thing sit on the ground. This motor will probably be bolted to the transom of this boat. I don't see any reason to remove it. I will probably be adding a transom saver to the trailer, and this motor will stay permanently attached to the back of my boat. So I think it's about time we read the directions and potentially fill this thing with some oil. All right, we are about to fill up with oil. It takes 1 liter or 1.1 US quarts. This is what we're going to use. It is not the Suzuki branded stuff. I can't get it locally, so I figure, my logic on it is use what you can get locally because you're going to want to do oil changes periodically. And if you ever had an incident where you think you may have gotten water contamination or something, you may want to do an oil change when you weren't planning on it. So, and I can get it in a big jug, which I like to have, so I can do 5 oil changes with 1 jug. It comes with 5 liters of oil in here, so I can do 5 oil changes. Now, I'm not sponsored by Lucas, and I don't have really an affiliation with them, and I don't use Lucas in all of my things. My logic is if something works and it meets the spec, and I have done the research, it appears to meet the Suzuki spec. If anybody has any good, credible information that I'm wrong on that, I'm more than happy to listen. However, from what I've read, it meets the spec. I have seen no reason not to use Lucas products. I have a buddy who uses them exclusively, and he has never had a problem with any of his stuff, and he runs stuff pretty hard as a commercial tree service guy. I don't really have any super loyalties when it comes to oil. I have been asked what I use, whether it be for trucks or whatever. I tend to use Rotella products on diesels and tractors, and I tend to use Mobil 1 on older vehicles. For racing oil, that Brad Penn stuff is pretty good. I use Ford racing oil. Like my dad Shelby, he uses the 550 Ford racing oil, and obviously haven't had a failure there. And for his Focus ST Fiesta ST, I had a Focus ST for a long time, and I only ran Ford racing oil in that, and my Focus RS has only run Ford racing oil. I haven't driven that enough to, I only have like 5,800 miles on that car, so it's not like I'm going to pretend that that's a great example, but I do use Ford racing oil and Ford racing applications. I do use Ford performance oil, I do use Motorcraft oil in normal applications on many vehicles. My mom's Windstar it's only had Motorcraft oil in it, and that engine has been unbelievably reliable in a pretty hard life, being driven by someone who's just, going shopping in it. It's not a very good life for a car to have, getting fired up, immediately taking off, just not a good life. So I've had good luck with Ford, I keep saying that, Ford Motorcraft oil, and I use their filters too on things that are relevant to that. I do use Mobil 1 filters commonly, and Wix is another good brand of oil filter. I don't have a terribly huge allegiance on oil. I think that most oils use the same base oil, and I'm pretty sure that's supported by pretty wide documentation, and there's different additive packages depending on what you're doing. And I don't think that one company's additive packages are somehow better than everybody else's. I think that, if you're using the right weight oil that meets the specs that a company is saying they built the engine for, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape, and I don't think it's going to impact the long-term durability of the engine. I haven't found a disagreement with that opinion yet, as someone who, maintains his stuff, but also uses it fairly hard. Now, I don't have a terribly huge amount of experience. I'm really just getting into using outboard motors. I have some older 2-stroke outboards that I love and I use and whatnot, and I tend to use, what am I using? I'm using some Evinrude oil. I've used, for my pontoon boat, I've been running this Valvoline stuff that I found. It honestly is fine. It doesn't smoke, or it doesn't smoke as bad as you'd think. I have used the Lucas outboard oil, 2-stroke oil, and this is all pre-mixed stuff. We had a Yamaha outboard, 2 Yamaha outboards on a Boston Whaler. They were twin Yamaha 150 two-stroke V6s on their, one was counter-rotating motor, on a Boston Whaler back in the day. That was a wonderful boat. We should never sold that. Somebody in Italy bought that boat, and I guess they have out in front of their hotel in Venice, because it was called the Boston Whaler Temptation. Just a really beautiful lines on a boat, 80s, classic 80s boat, had a cuddy cabin. It's a really cool boat. Yeah, I really regret selling that. It's a great boat. We used, I think just Yamaha, like the Yamalube outboard oil in that. Never had a problem. So in general, if you maintain your stuff, usually engine failures are caused by contamination, whether it be by water, dust, dirt, biologic-related things, algae, or abusive use, I would say. I mean, engines have rev limiters, but sometimes things happen, like a money shift in a car where you over rev an engine. So these failures are generally caused by abuse, neglect, or a mistake. So I'm going to confidently put that in here now that we've had a little discussion about oil. That's why I've kind of stayed away from making too much videos about oil, because it's so hard to test. The only way you could ever compare 2 oils side by side, and God forbid you're comparing 10 oils, is to each have, you'd have to have a control, you'd have to have identical vehicles that you've somehow checked, identical tolerances, identical manufacturing, identical cleaning. And the best you're going to do is by taking 3 vehicles made on the same day by the same machines with the same tool wear in manufacturing. Tool wear is a legitimate issue, and if you're not correcting for tool wear, you're going to have variances in manufacturing. It is a very difficult. The more you know about manufacturing, and I don't pretend to be an absolute expert in manufacturing, but I've dabbled a little bit between working at Chrysler, working at a couple different companies. I know a little bit about manufacturing, and I know enough to be dangerous. And I have a buddy who's deeply involved in modern machining with CNC machines to extremely tight aerospace tolerances. There is a lot to manufacturing. And there's a lot to manufacturing from the technical end. And then once you achieve that technical superiority, now you got to make sure that everybody's hands were clean, the environment was clean, the machines were clean, the coolant isn't contaminated. Like, oh my goodness, there is just... And then you got to have, besides the machining portion, the coolant for the machining, can't have any chip contamination that's causing differences in the cutting performance of... And then you have the metallurgy of the... Oh my God, it just never ends. But then you could have something as stupid as the custodial individual spilling something in the engine plant. And now you have a run of engines that had, he dumped 100 or broke a bag of vacuuming stuff on the ground, and now the dust all went in the air. And you could have something as dumb as that. And so you may have all the tolerances handled in every possible way. Clean machines, perfect chip management, perfect end mill wear rates. Everything could be perfect, and then you could have an issue where either someone forgets to wash the parts properly, the parts washer fails, and there was a run of parts that didn't get washed properly. The what-ifs never end. So it's very, very challenging to have a one-to-one comparison on how this may work. So I want everyone to consider that, and consider that it is incredibly difficult to compare things one-to-one and really have a repeatable test that actually means something to someone. So I'm going to get to doing this, and I'm pretty excited to keep trucking along after that long conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed my little bit of a rant on oil. As you can imagine, I like vacillating about big things like that. Big ideas are fun, but sometimes they're impossible to narrow down. All right, guys, we're going to keep trucking here, and hopefully we're going to button this up, get some fuel, and God, I really want to fire it. I have a meeting tonight at 7, so I think I'm getting pretty close on time. Not really close, but to go do something else right now may not be possible. We'll see. Look how cute this little thing is. I was just looking at it. It calls for I think it's a 200, or no, it's every 4 years change the belt, the timing belt. So evidently there's a timing belt in there. You can see the timing cover right there. And it's, as far as I know, it's an overhead cam engine, 4-valve per cylinder, single cylinder. I'm so excited to run this thing. I think it's going to be sweet. So I'm going to keep trucking. We'll talk to you guys in a second. All right, we are outside in all of Michigan's autumn glory. I have not hooked up the fuel system because I'm going to prime it on the video. I saw a video of somebody saying that they fired this up for the first time and it just fired up first pull. I want to see that for myself, and I want to make it so no one can question whether or not that's what I did. So this thing's brand new. Hasn't been any fuel in here. There's no fuel in here. There's no fuel in here. So we'll do that all in the video. They want it 10 inches above that fin down there. So that's what they're going to get. So we're just waiting on that to fill, and then we'll give it a rip. It's pretty cool because it's fuel injected, and it must have some sort of like a really high-speed magneto that when you pull it, must be able to make enough power to fire up the computer and then get the data it needs to have and then fire the motor. It's so cool. Modern tech shirt can go bad, but modern tech shirt is cool. Hopefully it's as reliable as a lot of people say. I have a friend who has it's a 39-foot Intrepid with triple 250 Suzuki's on it. He loves them. He said he gained a couple mile an hour top end going from triple 252 strokes, and that may just have been from a better prop pitch. But more importantly, this guy uses his boat a lot. He trailers his boat to Florida for the whole winter time to go fishing, and he uses it a lot in Lake St. Clair. He said he was burning, I think he said $15,000 of oil a season, and obviously now being 4-stroke, he's not doing that. So, wow, if that's true, that's wild. One thing I can promise you is it never, ever, ever, ever hurts to double check your work. Make sure it's... Oh yeah, we're good. Oh, come on, focus. It's right there at the dot. See the... Come on, focus, you bum. Yeah, it's right there. I just got done carrying it sideways, so that's why there's extra on the dipstick, but she is a bear to carry around. It's definitely more... Yeah, it's mobile. You could use it, you know, hand portable, but she's a big girl. All right, fresh fuel line. Fresh fuel line. Fresh quick connect. Empty ball. Make sure she's in neutral. That thing's on. Let's do it. So was that 3 pulls? Yep. So someone's saying that it was a 1 pull after fresh refiring. I'm not sure that's true. But we're idling. Boy, is it quiet. Oh my goodness. It's got idle for 15 minutes is what the book calls for, so we'll check back. First of all, I accidentally said that it was a single cylinder. I don't know why I thought it's 2-cylinder. Don't worry about that. I make mistakes. So what they're calling for is 15 minutes in gear, but after a 5-minute, where is it? A 5-minute warm-up? Where is it? I just read that. Right, 5 minutes. So every time you fire it up for the first 2 hours, make sure it has about 5 minutes to warm up, and we're going to do that right now, and then we're going to put it in gear and hopefully keep the water topped off and get the 5 minutes of idle, the 15 minutes of idle speed in gear out of the way. What an incredible technology, how quiet this thing is. Listen to the silence. All right, so our idle time has come to a close. We've put it in gear and we've let it run. We've had 15 minutes of run time, so now we have an hour and 45 of using it at half throttle or less in gear on the boat. So now we're past that. Better to do it here than it is to idle around on the water. So we're gonna go ahead and shut it off because we haven't used that function. And maybe I should here. Pretty quiet. Amazingly quiet. So we're gonna kill it. Oh, okay. So maybe it's not that's not a button, it's actually this. Okay. Cool. Well, that's it.